There was a point in the game where playing Rocket League felt weird. Not bad, not broken, just different. You lose a game. Instead of thinking, yeah, they were just better than me, you'd sit there for a second and wonder, was this guy even real? And the strange part is, that question didn't come from one game. Well, sometimes it did, but slowly crept in, over weeks, over months, and over years. When Epic Games bought Psyonix, people had a lot of concerns, mostly about cosmetics and monetization and more cosmetics, which did happen. But almost nobody was thinking about anti-cheat because at the time it just wasn't needed. Rocket League is a strange game to cheat in. There's no recoil, there's no random spread. It's just physics. You press a button and your card does something very specific. Usually not what you thought it was going to do. But what are you going to do? Install an aimbot for the ball? But that assumption about cheating turned out to be completely different because it didn't show up the way people expected. It showed up as something else, something that looked almost human at first. At some point, players started running into opponents that felt different. Not flashy, not obviously cheating, just unreasonably consistent. They never hesitated, never overcommitted, never made the type of mistake you'd expect, which, if you ever played Rocket League, is already suspicious. And at first, you assume they're just good, or smurfing. But then it kept happening, and everyone realized good players still make mistakes. These players, they didn't. This is where things got complicated, because in most games, cheating is obvious. You see something impossible. That's it. Case closed. But in Rocket League, the problem wasn't impossibility. It was plausibility. Everything looked just real enough to make you question it, but not real enough to feel right. And that's actually worse because now you don't know what to believe, which is not ideal in a game about hitting a giant ball with a car. Rocket League runs on a very simple idea. If you lose, it's your fault. Not in a harsh way, just in a useful way, because that belief is what makes you improve. But the moment that changes, the moment you think, maybe that wasn't fair, you stopped improving, and eventually, you probably stopped playing. Or worse, you tilt queued again, and again, and again. And then eventually, there was an announcement. Easy Anti-Cheat was coming to Rocket League, and the reaction was surprisingly calm. No huge celebration, no this changes everything moment. Just a lot of people going, this won't last long, which is interesting, because this was probably one of the most important updates the game had ever received. But Anti-Cheat isn't exactly exciting. It doesn't add a new mode, it doesn't even make you play better, which for some people is disappointing. If anything, it just quietly removes something, and that's harder to notice. So most people saw the announcement and thought, okay, I guess that's good, and then went back to missing their open nets. But underneath, that's very normal. Something very important was about to change, because for the first time, Rocket League wasn't just hoping problems would go away. It had a system designed to find them. And even though the announcement didn't feel huge at the time, it quietly set up one of the biggest shifts the game ever had. Because here's the thing, Rocket League is incredibly strict, not in rules, but in logic. Every movement has a reason, every touch has an input, every outcome can be traced back to a decision. So when something doesn't quite add up, it stands out. Kind of like your teammates missing the kickoff. Not immediately, but over time. And that's what systems like Easy Anti-Cheat are good at. Not catching one moment, but catching patterns. You can try to make something look human and random. And you can even add mistakes to the bot. But real players don't make random mistakes. They make very specific mistakes. They panic, they misread, they hesitate. Sometimes all three at once. And those things are surprisingly hard to fake. So what ends up happening is, you get players who look normal in short bursts, but over multiple games, they start to look strangely consistent. And consistency in a game like this, it's suspicious, unless you're a pro. And even then, sometimes it's still suspicious. After easy anti-cheat was introduced, something subtle happened. You stopped asking that question as often. You'd lose a game, instead of thinking, was that legit? You'd actually think, okay, that guy is just better than me. Which doesn't sound like a big improvement, but it is, because that's how the game is supposed to feel. Of course, this came with its trade-offs. Bake's mod was removed, and they shut down. Some training tools stopped working in online play, and for a lot of people, that was frustrating. But the alternative was worse, because without that restriction, you don't just allow helpful tools, you allow everything, including the things you definitely don't want. What Epic understood is something that's easy to overlook. Players don't need a perfect game, they just need a fair one. You can lose, you can get destroyed, you can whiff the open net repeatedly. But as long as you believe the game is fair, you will play it again. And that belief, it was starting to disappear. Rocket League didn't collapse. It didn't have a dramatic downfall. It was just slowly drifting towards a point where things didn't feel right anymore. And instead of making a huge change, Epic decided to make the right one. They removed the doubt, which it turns out was kind of important. So now, when you lose a game in Rocket League, there's a good chance it was for a simple reason. They were better than you, which, depending on the day, might actually feel worse. But at least, it makes sense. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future uploads, and drop a like if you want to help support the channel. Also, come hang out with me live on Twitch. The link's in the description. I'll catch you guys in the next one.